Welcome. It's your man God of Dots back with another episode of The Audible. Hope everybody has had a very good day. Hope you have had a very good week. We almost at Friday, y'all. We almost Friday. A little bit of housekeeping to kind of get out the way. Tune in tomorrow. Probably be doing a show. Doing a freestyle Friday over here. You got some things to kind of discuss, and we'll see how it kind of goes. And the other space, I don't. I'm debating. I got some things, but we and I say we, I'm saying working, collaborating on a certain project. We'll see how that kind of goes. Way to get the message back on that. But anyway, in the meantime, in between time, a little NBA news before we kind of dive into the NFL stuff. If you missed it, Damian Lillard has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll kind of get into that more until I may do a special show, doing an NBA preview. But that's at a later time. That's at a later time, probably sometime right before the season starts. Maybe doing an NBA preview. Just add a little something to the channel. All that kind of good stuff. But anyway. How you doing, Miss Murphy? It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. All right, so let's kind of get into it. Week 4. Looking at the slate of games, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not a lot of big matchups, but it's some very key matchups going down this weekend. We're going to kind of do a breakdown of all of the games and give you my picks. Hey, sometimes my picks be right, sometimes my picks be wrong. But anyway, we got the kickoff tonight, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. I think it'll be a very good game. Very good game. Two very good teams playing at the start of this season. We talk about the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. Detroit, in my opinion, is the favorite, even though Green Bay is at home, coming off a short week. Green Bay coming off the comeback win against the New Orleans Saints. Detroit taking care of business against the Falcons the previous week. I think this will be a very good game to watch. I'm going to be tuned in. I had Detroit, winning the division, so ride with Detroit. As far as the season so far is concerned. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very good game. I'm just curious to see Jordan Love under the big lights, the big stage Thursday night games, standalone game, and see how it's the Detroit defense. Do they give him fits like they gave Desmond Ritter fits? Even though I think Jordan Love is miles ahead of Desmond Ritter as a quarterback, I think it'll be a very good game. It typically is when we have division games, especially in the NFC North. Those games tend to be kind of close, very interesting. But with tonight, both of them coming off of a win, both of them 2-1 records. I gotta lean towards Detroit in this one. I gotta lean towards Detroit in this one. I like how the defense kind of came out against the Falcons, got after it, got a bit of a pass rush going, and if they can continue that pass rush against Jordan Love, they can give him fits. New Orleans defense, they held up 3 quarters, fourth quarter just kind of fell apart. The team just kind of fell apart against them. But I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a very good game. But for tonight, first instinct, I'm going Lions. I think it'll be a very close game. Maybe field goal type game, very nip and tuck. I don't think you're going to see a lot of scoring in this one. I'm not, Thursday night games typically, especially with teams coming off the short week. There's not a lot of practice going on. Maybe a walkthrough on Tuesday. A quick run through on Wednesday, but these Thursday games, especially on a short week, the biggest thing, you try to come out the game healthy, go in healthy, come out healthy. But I got Detroit winning tonight. And if the Packers win, I don't want to be surprised. Like I said, it's a very good game. I think it'll be close to that, but I got Detroit. I got Detroit. Looking at the rest of the game, especially starting Sunday, we got the London game, the typical London game, traditional London game. You got Falcons and Jaguars. Very weird game to call. Very weird game to call. Mainly because of how up and down the Jacksonville Jaguars can be. I told you guys coming into this season, I wasn't that high on Jacksonville coming into this season. I wasn't, really inspired by the playoff run or push they had late last season, mainly because, Tennessee just kind of fell apart with injuries. And Jacksonville thus far has not done enough to impress me. It's not done enough to impress me. Trevor Lawrence has been, typical Trevor Lawrence, erratic at best. Very talented quarterback, but just can't seem to put it together consistently. When he's on, but when he's off, and he tends to be more off than on. But the Falcons, you're rolling out there with Desmond Ritter. You do have a very good run offense. Speaking of the Falcons, it's been reported that the Dallas Cowboys are itching around, trying to, you know, see if they can get a deal done for tight end Kyle Pitts. And if, Dallas, if you got to part with the 5th round pick, if that's all they're asking for, that's been reported. That's what Falcons are asking for from the Cowboys. Maybe bumped up to a 4th round pick, considering Kyle Pitts is, a former 1st round tight end, very unique, kind of athletically, not, based off his production, but, his production is based off, him having a subpar quarterback. But if the Cowboys are able to, get Kyle Pitts, I say go forward. In the NFL, when you have an opportunity to kind of add key pieces, upgrade certain positions, and I'm not going to lie to you, not that the Dallas Cowboys tight ends have been bad, but we definitely need an upgrade. Nothing against those guys. They're just not, on the level of Kyle Pitts. You add Kyle Pitts to the talent that they have already on the offensive side, be able to spread the ball. Kyle Pitts is not the traditional safety valve of a tight end. He's a guy that can kind of get up the field, be a vertical threat against most safeties, put a lot of pressure on defenses. So if we're able to bring him in, Jerry, go ahead, make that happen. Make that happen. But as far as this game is concerned, 9:30 kickoff. How you doing, Doe Eyes? How you doing, Dr. Nikki? 9:30 kickoff Sunday morning. I typically, watch the London game because, it's a different kind of a vibe with those games. It's not just the traditional NFL crowd that you have at home. It's more of a people coming out to watch a spectacle. But yeah, I got Falcons in this one. Something about Jacksonville, the way they play, especially how they played last week against the Houston Texans, gives me pause going to this game now. If they do have a chance because you're playing against Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter is right now one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I know that he's young and he's still kind of getting his feet up under him as far as getting game reps and that kind of stuff. But what he's put out on the field thus far has not impressed me. Does not give me confidence. If they're depending on him to lead them to victory as far as like throwing the ball, I'm not sold. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. I'm not sold. I think Atlanta will be looking for a upgraded quarterback next season. Like I said, if you've been watching the show, the quarterback class potentially coming out into the draft next season is going to be very good. So Atlanta may be looking for an upgrade at quarterback. But for Sunday's game, I got them winning against Jacksonville. Like I said, Trevor Lawrence is not, giving me much to kind of go on thus far this season. It's been very inconsistent. Jacksonville as a whole has been very inconsistent. But moving on from that inconsistent team, looking at some of the other games on the early Sunday games, a game that I'm looking to. It's in the NFC South. And, if you caught my NFC South preview, if you didn't, go back, check it out, like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. You got Tampa Bay coming off a loss. I thought, I picked them to win against Philly. They let me down. Baker Mayfield being Baker Mayfield. But you're looking at Tampa Bay against the Saints down in New Orleans. Like I said, division games typically are more heated, more closely contested. I got Saints in this one. I haven't looked at the injury report in regards to Derek Carr. If Jameis Winston, I think, is suitable enough as a backup quarterback. Could be starting for a lot of teams in this league. Looking at you, Falcons, Jameis Winston could be starting for a lot of teams in this league, but he's back up down there in New Orleans. Both teams have kind of surprised me. New Orleans defense is playing a lot better than I thought they would coming into this season. Tampa Bay off to a pretty good start, 2-1 record. Looked kind of flat playing against Philadelphia. Just couldn't solve the riddle of the Philadelphia run game. And we'll talk about the Philadelphia run game a little bit later in the show when we get down to their game. But for this game, I got to go Saints at home. Just because I think the Saints defense is better right now than Tampa Bay's offense. But I'm looking at the Derek Carr situation. If Winston starts, like I said, he's got experience as being a starting quarterback in this league, but has not always, a guy that's taking care of the ball, has known to put the ball in harm's way. I think he's the only quarterback that I can recall, and I think in NFL history that has had a 30 touchdown, 30 interception season. So he'll put the ball in harm's way. Jameis Winston has not seen a window he would not try to throw a ball through. And but I think the Saints with their defense is able to kind of hold Tampa Bay's offense in check, and win a very close game. I think it'll be a very close game, very low scoring game. New Orleans is not a team that allows a team to kind of get up and down the field on them and score a lot of points. Like I said, one of the better defenses at the start of this year. I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints. So I got Saints at home, very close game. I think this is going to be a big test for this division, because I was down on the NFC South coming into this season, but so thus far, with the exception of the Carolina Panthers, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. With the exception of the Carolina Panthers, the NFC South is played fairly well, even in losing efforts, have played fairly well. New Orleans was in position to win the game against Green Bay. Atlanta, if they had a competent quarterback, had an opportunity to really challenge Detroit last week. So, and I picked Tampa Bay to beat Philly. So I think NFC South is surprising a lot of people. If you're not, keen in on them, if you're not watching them, hey, watch out what they got going on. It's always a team or a division that kind of surprises you from year to year how well they played. And considering that the NFC as a whole, with the exception of out of the top three teams, is kind of wide open this year as far as playoff spots being available. I wouldn't be surprised based off how they're playing now. Like I said, based off how they're playing now, I wouldn't be surprised you may see two NFC South teams in the playoffs. I think the Saints have the personnel to get it done. I think Tampa Bay, and with the right setting, right kind of breaks, can do it. And I'm looking at the Falcons as an outsider chance. But Desmond Ridder is the big question mark for me. Looking at some of the other games on the early slate, you got Baltimore against Cleveland. I think this will be a this is one of those games I circle on the calendar for this week, just because Cleveland, despite the struggles of Deshaun Watson early this season, I know he did have a good game last week, but despite the struggles of the offense, Nick Chubb is out, Kareem Hunt is in there. The defense has played lights out. Cleveland's defense has played lights out. I broke this down when I did the team preview this all season. When you look at Cleveland's defense, it's a lot to like. It's a lot to like as far as like the personnel is concerned. It begins and ends with Myles Garrett. But Cleveland's defense thus far has been one of the best defenses so far early in the season. I know it's just they've only played 3 games. I'm not saying that they're super elite, but this is a very good defense they have in Cleveland. A lot of people are not tuned into them, not watching them, mainly because of Deshaun Watson. Hey, but that's a story for another day. But then you have, on the flip side, you have Baltimore. Baltimore has a very good start to the season, has gotten some breaks. I'm not sure what to make of Baltimore at this point. I'm not sure to make what Baltimore what they got going on as far as like the offensive philosophy. Traditionally, this has been a run-heavy team, but when you have Odell Beckham, you bring him in, you draft Zay Flowers, you would think this team is going to be putting up the ball in the air a lot more, be a more balanced attack, but it just hasn't kind of, for me, and this is just for me based off what I've been seeing, it just hasn't kind of come together for me with Baltimore. But they play play winning football. What's going on, brother? Certain, how you doing? That they play winning football, but this is a tough game for me to call. I know Cleveland is at home. Like I said, the defense is played lights out, but Lamar Jackson is just a different kind of animal. And Deshaun Watson, yeah, he had a good week last week, but do I pick Cleveland in this one? I don't know. A part of me wants to pick Cleveland, just how well the defense has been playing, and some of the question marks I have about Baltimore. But these divisional matchups, man, is something else. But I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore on the road in a very close game. Baltimore, like I said, has played winning football, but just I don't know, they just haven't separated themselves from the rest of the pack in terms of production or expected production for me. But I got Baltimore on the road. Baltimore on the road against Cleveland. That defense can get after Deshaun Watson. And like I said, I know he had a good game last week, but until he kind of puts it together for a 3 or 4 week stretch, I'm not going to say he's all the way back yet. I got Baltimore on the road in Cleveland. Looking at some of these other games, Vikings Panthers, weird game. Panthers, I'm not sure if Bryce Young is slated to start. I don't know if he's back from injury yet. Andy Dalton didn't look bad, but it's clearly it showed in that performance that it's not a lot of talent offensively down in Carolina. And then when you look at the Vikings is a weird team. This team is on 3, but they got Kirk Cousins, who's on pace to break the passing yards record at the paces he's at. You have Justin Jefferson on the pace to set records. Offensively, it's a lot to like, but the thing about the Vikings, and I talked about this early in the season. I talked about this in the offseason. Something about Minnesota, like how they make boneheaded plays. The defense was suspect coming into the season, and the defense has been a issue, but it doesn't help when you have a offense that is turnover prone. Kirk Cousins, one thing, he's kind of like Jameis Winston. He will put the ball in harm's way, maybe not so much as Jameis, but he will put the ball in harm's way. But stat wise, they're off to a great start. Offensively, it's just the turnovers, the poor defense. It is, and they're on the road. I think the Vikings get the first win just because I don't have a lot of faith in the Carolina Panthers offense. It's their years. They're a couple years away from being a threat in this league without Bryce Young. I think Andy Dalton kind of gets to start. He was okay. He was okay. It was nothing to be concerned about. If you're a Panthers fan thinking he's going to keep that job, I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. Probably the biggest game when you're looking at the calendar, probably the biggest game of the weekend, you got to look Miami and Buffalo. Probably the biggest game of the week. But let's talk about it. Miami coming off the 70-20 beat down against the Denver Broncos. Miami's offense looks unstoppable through the first 3 weeks of the season. Tyreek Hill is a monster. And think about it. They put up 70 points on who I thought was a very good Denver Broncos defense coming into this season. They put up 70 points on them. They did it all without Jalen Waddle. Miami is you kind of focus in on Tua and those receivers, but they have a very, very good running attack in Miami. Now, I think that kind of gets looked over because you're so focused in on, having guys, your safety's got to play back because of Jalen Waddle and the Tyreek Hill, but they got a lot of talent in that backfield. I'm talking about Raheem Mostert, Devin Arkin. You saw that last week, but this is a very, very good litmus test for both teams. Last season, they want to say they split the season series. Tua, this is a game that puts you. I think if Tua wins and he plays at the level he's been playing thus far this season, I think you got to put Tua in the early season. Keyword being early. If he plays to the level he's been playing at, you got to put Tua at the top of MVP consideration early in the season. This is going to be a very, very good game. And you're right, brother. Divisional games typically be hard hitting and intense just because teams are so familiar with each other. They play twice a year, sometimes 3 times, depending on how playoff matchups go. You got Buffalo coming off the beatdown of the Raiders, have something to prove. All eyes going to be on Miami to continue their success. Defense for Buffalo can be had. You can attack the Buffalo defense, and Josh Allen does have a penchant for putting the ball in harm's way. But when we're talking about big games, primetime games, I would say this about Josh Allen. As much as he turns the ball over, he typically plays well in the big stage games and the big national TV game. He typically plays well enough to win. I think Josh Allen is going to give Miami's defense some problems. I think Buffalo If you want to go blow for blow, and I don't think that's a game that Buffalo wants to play. If you go blow for blow, Buffalo can score with Miami, but I don't think you want to kind of get into that kind of a race with how well Miami is playing with so many weapons on the field, with the offense clicking in the run and pass game like that. I'm gonna go Miami. I'm gonna go Miami in this one. I understand that this is a road game. You're going up to Buffalo, beginning of October. Not sure what the weather's going to be like. Typically, Miami doesn't play well in cold weather games. I'm not sure like I said, I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like. But I got Miami just based off the fact of how to be playing. Now, do I think they're going to put up anywhere close to the points they put up last week? Hell no. I think that was an aberration. But I do think this offense is capable of putting up 30 points on Buffalo. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. And I think it comes down to whoever has the ball last. I think whoever has the ball last doesn't have the most turnovers is going to win this game. I think both offenses will play well. Like I said, Miami, you scored 70. You gave up 20. Broncos had a pretty good offensive game. When you look at the numbers, they had a pretty good offensive game against this Miami defense. Miami defense is clearly missing on Jalen Ramsey on the outside. But I do think Miami pulls it off on the road in Buffalo. I think it's a close game, probably about a 4-point edge to the Dolphins. I think both teams go over 30. I think it's one of those 35-31 games. But this is a very big test for both of them. For both of them, clearly, if Miami goes up there and takes care of business, you have to kind of look at them as being the best team in the AFC at the moment. Buffalo, they hang on and win at home against Miami. We're having a totally different conversation come Monday morning when we're breaking down the games from this weekend. But I'm looking for between that game, it's like I said, it's a couple, but for the most part, a lot of these games ain't exciting me. But this is one of those games as much watch TV. I need to see how Tua looks on the big stage against a very good Buffalo team who kind of got their confidence back last week playing against the Raiders. But a lot of teams kind of get their confidence back playing against the Raiders. This is I think this is one of those 35-31 games. I'm leaning towards Dolphins, but if you tell me Monday Buffalo pulled it off and won this game, it wouldn't surprise me. I think both of these are two of the better teams in the AFC, and it's going to show. It's going to show. Like I said, circle it, 1 o'clock kickoff up in Buffalo. It's going to be one of them ones, especially when we're talking about early season matches. It's going to be one of them ones. Some of the other games, Steelers, Texans. Steelers were my dark horse coming to this season, but I like what I've seen from Houston. I like what Coach DeMeco Ryans is doing down there in his first year as head coach. I like CJ Stroud, and I've been making this argument for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Put your quarterback in position to make plays at the level that he's at. Meet him where he's at. And Houston has done a very good job of that early on in the season. Chicago Bears, not so much. We're going to talk about the Bears in just a second. But Steelers on the road in Houston, I think Houston holds on. And I know I picked the Steelers to be my dark horse team, but considering how well the Houston has played, Pittsburgh is kind of picking up steam in the last couple of weeks. I do think the Texans win. It's going to be a very good game. Maybe not must-see TV. I don't think these teams are going to be putting up points like that throughout the game. I think Stroud may struggle a little bit against a very good Pittsburgh defense, but Houston has a pretty good defense themselves, considering how well they've been playing first couple of weeks of the season. But I got Texans at home. I think Texas hold serve, put the league on notice that hey, we're not a doormat. I wasn't one of those people that was saying they want to make the playoffs, but very good start to the season for Houston. Very surprising in a lot of aspects, considering how young the team is at certain key positions. But I got Texans hold and serve at home. Very low scoring game against the Steelers. Speaking of low scoring, we're talking about Broncos against the Bears now. Broncos, I think they're going to come out here with a point to prove. Got embarrassed on national TV against the Miami Dolphins last week. the worst performance I've seen by a professional team in the NFL when I'm talking about on all levels. Last week against the Dolphins in Chicago is just a mess. Chicago is just a mess. Justin Fields looks like he's lost. He looks so disconnected from what the game plan they're trying to put in place, and I'm not sure what kind of game plan Chicago's put in place. Let that young man freelance. Let him use his physical gifts, because when he's able to do that and he's able to make the quick read, the simple read, and it's not trying to go through his progression, because he's not there yet. He's just not there yet. And I'm gonna put a lot of emphasis on the coaching. You had success last year in Chicago when you was letting this young man play to his strengths. Quit trying to make him a Peyton Manning guy. It ain't happening. You see that, and it's kind of parallel when you look at the quarterback on the other side. When we're talking about the Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson is at his best when he's kind of able to improvise, create, do things, do things, outside of the parameters of the play. I think Denver comes out here with a laser focus, want to get their season on track. Chicago is the perfect place to do it, because let's keep it a buck. Chicago is not challenging anybody. They're not challenging anybody right now. Complete mess in Chicago. I'm curious to see how their season plays out. I'm not a Bears fan, and why would I be? But I'm gonna be watching them this season. To see how this Justin Fields saga plays out. I think ownership is going to have to make a decision in the offseason. Either the coaching staff goes or you get a new quarterback. And it kind of boils down to just, for me, it boils down to just that for me. Kind of looking at you got Commanders and Eagles. I'm gonna lean Eagles at home. Even though they are 3-0, they still seem a bit off. Namely, Jalen Hurts. Washington does have a pretty good defense out there, but they do have Sam Howell, quarterback. He's a guy that's shown thus far he'll kind of give it up as far as the turnovers are concerned. So I'm not picking against the Eagles this week. I do think it is a divisional matchup. These games typically are close, but Washington hasn't shown me enough to I think they can knock off the Eagles. I think the Eagles kind of get their season on a better track. 3-0 is still a good start considering their struggles. But I'm be watching how well Jalen Hurts plays against a very decent Washington defense they have out there. But I do have the Eagles winning at home. Some of the afternoon games, you got Raiders, Chargers. Not excited for that one. I got Chargers at home. Raiders are just it's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint what kind of team do they want to be. You want to be a run team, a pass team, a defensive team. I'm McDaniels has been holding on to a job that I'm gonna be honest with you. Josh McDaniels does not deserve to be a head coach. Does not deserve to be a head coach in the NFL. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Does not deserve to be a head coach. He's better off as somebody's coordinator. Okay. Let's see what other games we got on tap. Cardinals and 49ers. Cardinals, coming off the win against my boys. That hurt. Cardinals coming off the win against my boys. I do think San Francisco takes care of business at home. I don't think San Francisco defense is going to have the same challenges that we had last week dealing with the Cardinals. This is another divisional game. They're used to seeing them. I'm used to their style of football. I think 49ers continue their perfect start to the season at home. I think this is a double-digit win. 49ers, I'm not to throw mud on the Cardinals, but hey, it just is what it is. What other games we got going on? Of course, the return of Zeke Elliott to Dallas. Of course, I'm picking my goddamn Cowboys, man. I'm picking the Cowboys to win, but if red zone offense for my Cowboys is a concern, and we're talking about playing against the New England Patriots, who typically Bill Belichick knows how to game plan against Dak Prescott, kind of keeps us a low scoring affair. I don't think Dallas gets up and down the field, and with the issues that we've had in the red zone, I'm not sure how to call this one. On paper, we're more talented than the New England Patriots, but with some of the play calling. And I've been critical of my team, even though we're off to a 2-1 start. I've been critical of my team as far as the red zone production is concerned. I don't think Matt Jones is going to give us the same kind of issues that Josh Dobbs gave us last week. He's not as mobile of a quarterback. Doesn't present the same challenge. They do have a run game, led by Zeke and Ramon Stevenson up there. I think this is a closer game than Cowboys fans are going to be comfortable with. I don't think this is a comfortable win. If they were coming in as 4 or 5 point favorites, this may come down to like being a field goal type game. Belichick, you give him time to scheme up against the quarterback, and typically he's had success scheming against Dak. The Bears should fold. Yeah, you're right. The Bears should fold. But that's a story for another day. I may just dedicate a whole show to just talking shit about the Bears. It will warm my spirits up. But yeah, I got Cowboys at home. I think they right the ship. Come out with a bit of chip on his shoulder, considering how poorly they played against the Cardinals last week. But something about the Patriots, man. This was Patriots, and Bill Belichick is one of those teams you don't really want to pencil in W's against, because how well coached they are, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Does Zeke have a couple touchdowns? I'm not sure. I mean, it's good to see he's landed and is being productive elsewhere. But hey, I got to go with the boys. Now, coming into this season, the next game we're going to talk about was one of those games I had circled on the calendar, but with the injury of Aaron Rodgers, the Sunday night football game, Chiefs Jets. Man, what a mess up there in New York. What a mess they have up there in New York. You got the defense pretty much turning on the head coach because of the play of the quarterback. I mean, where are you going? Unless you go out and trade for a guy at this point of the season. And it's a market out there for guys. You brought in, I want to say Trevor Siemian. He's not the answer at quarterback. What were you guys expecting when you had Zach Wilson still there? What was you expecting? You expected him to play lights out. The defense has played well enough to win, for the most part, all the games that they play. But just when you're limited, when you're really limited, and I talked about the Jets this offseason. If you missed it, go check it out. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. But when I talked about the Jets, a lot of that was dependent on Aaron Rodgers elevating the play of those guys around him. Like I said, if you had Aaron Rodgers, this was one of those games I had circled on the calendar as one of the marquee games. But when you have a guy like Zach Wilson, who doesn't put the fear in any defense out there, has been battered. This is one of the worst offensive line playing right now in the NFL. I think Chiefs go up there, double-digit wins, beat the brakes off these guys. Maybe the Jets come out inspired, but it's when you're reading the reports and stuff that's coming out of New York, this is a house on fire. I'm not sure if Robert Saleh makes it to the end of the season. With the amount of noise that's coming from the defensive side, as far as like them being upset with him, publicly supporting Zach Wilson. I mean, what is he supposed to do as a head coach, man? That's his starting quarterback. He's not. Trust me, Saleh was excited just like every other Jets fans to have Aaron Rodgers, but he ain't there. He ain't coming back this season. Deal with it. You might as well go ahead and rally behind the guys that you got, and play better. Play better. But yeah, I got Chiefs winning. And of course, the Monday night game, Seahawks, Giants, Giants. Have been one of the early season disappointments for me. I'm not gonna lie to you, have been one of the early season disappointments. Daniel Jones getting the contract and playing like straight doo-doo, man. Playing like straight doo-doo. I got Seahawks. I got Seahawks on the road, going up to New York, taking care of business. The Giants defense has just not played well enough, in my opinion, to even be in the conversation for early season playoff teams. They're just not there. Offensive line has been spotty the entire season. Saquon, and his injury stuff. Daniel Jones. You really don't have a number one receiver. Daniel Jones is one of those guys that's got to have talent around him to really be successful. Got to really be put into a situation to be successful. And thus far this season, New York has not done that. I think the defense, and this is my opinion, I think the defense as a whole has taken a step back so far this season. They're not playing at the level they were playing at last season, especially early last season when they were one of the best defenses in the league. New York defense is not playing up to snuff. But Daniel Jones is he's got New York, man. For the Jets and the Giants, man, the quarterback situation is a suspect at best. Brother, of a certain age says losing Diggs is huge. Yes, it is. But we have DaRon Bland, who had played significant minutes last season. I want to say had 5 or 6 interceptions, so he's used to being in the starting lineup. One thing you got to have in this league, especially with how injuries happen, freak or otherwise, you got to have a little depth, especially at certain key positions. I think defensive line you got to have, especially along the offensive line, you got to have depth. I think you got to have depth in the secondary. Considering when guys go down, wide receiver is a bit of a different position. Running back, most teams have running back by committees anyway. But yeah, Zeke gonna be motivated. Zeke, I figure he'll be motivated. I think they're gonna honor him in some form or fashion before the game. Show their appreciation. But yeah, back to that Monday night game, Seahawks, Geno Smith. It seemed to kind of got his mojo back after the week 1 struggles, and like I said, the Giants' defense is just as concerning as the play of the offense. The Giants' defense has not played very well thus far this season, and that's just my opinion. G-Man go down. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm happy that I don't cheer for any in NFC East teams, but Seahawks. Hope you go up there and take care of business, smash them boys, break their confidence. It's only one team in the NFC East I'm looking ahead to or looking at, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. They are the litmus test for the division right now. I'm looking forward for that. Giants, I think, depending on how they play this weekend, I do think it's going to be a loss. Where do you go if you're the Giants? You're locked in to Daniel Jones with the money. You really don't have top tier receiving core. You have Waller, but Waller's been nicked up, playing through injuries. I think he's a very good tight end in the right system. But if you don't have Saquon doing Saquon things and being special, this offense is pedestrian at best. And the offensive line is not helped Daniel Jones be successful thus far this season. But we'll see. I think those are most of the big games. I think I may have missed a couple just because I didn't think they was important. Bengals, Titans, yeah, that's not for me. Not must see TV. Rams, Colts, not must see TV for me either. If you're fans of those teams, I apologize. They're just not worth it for me to really kind of be breaking down. I'll give my predictions. I got Rams on the road, and I got Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati on the road against Tennessee. So it kind of wraps it up for week 4. Like I said, housekeeping be back tomorrow. I think we'll be doing the show around the same time. We'll be doing Freestyle Friday. And we'll be kind of, doing that show over here. And then we'll be back Tuesday, breaking down all this weekend's games and the action. We'll be back Thursday as usual with our preview of the next week's games. So we're going to kind of keep it flowing over here. I'll try to keep you guys up to date on any breaking news in the world of sports. Like I said, I started out the show with a little NBA news, and we'll be kind of doing the NBA preview. I might just dedicate a whole lot to that at some point next month as we get closer to tip-off over there. But yeah, appreciate everybody for coming through as always. Like, share, subscribe, comment, man. It's always appreciated. God of brother. I'm not a hater. Trust me. I should have did flight. I knew this dude was coming. I'm not a hater, brother. Trust me. When I'm up here doing my thing, it's a lot of Cowboy love, but I'm honest with the team. I'm in the analyst position. I'm not up here as a fan. I'm not bashing you guys, but the Giants have looked bad this season. It's not being a hater. The defense is not playing to the level they were playing last season. Daniel Jones has regress to a degree. Wide receivers are not really getting open, catching the ball. Saquon has not been doing Saquon things. I'm just being honest. Being honest with my observations. You guys go out there and you beat Seattle this weekend. Trust me, I'll come on the show and give you guys all the praises in the world. Yeah, we up 3. Yeah, I know. But you can be honest with yourself, TC, and welcome to the show. Be honest with yourself. Something seems off in Philly. Something seems off in Philly, and I'm talking about on the offensive side. Something seems off. Something. It's not the same. They're not locked in offensively like they were majority of the season last year. Something seems off. I don't know if it's the change of the coordinator. Something seems off. I'm just calling like I said. You guys are continuing to win. Hey, more power to them. I got a little side bet with one of you Philadelphia Eagles fans. If we beat y'all, I get them on the panel, which is always a pleasure anyway. But yeah, I just call it like I see it, man. I'm just your humble analyst breaking down what I'm seeing out there. I think, like I said, it's a couple key games. I'm gonna be watching this weekend. Probably the biggest one I'm gonna be locked in, tuned into is Miami and Buffalo, because I gotta see. I gotta see Buffalo. Can you stand up to what Miami is doing offensively? I think Miami is operating right now offensively on a completely different gear than everybody else right now. And they've came out the gate running on teams. I think the closest game they had was against the Chargers, and they put up 35 or something on them. Offensively, they kind of get together. I think if you're going to beat Miami, you're going to have to attack that defense, put pressure on that defense, and hopefully, not make it a track meet. Not make it a track meet. Road to 17-0. You smoking dope now. Ooh, I don't know what they selling up there in Philly, man, but you need to lay off that stuff, man. I don't, you need to lay off that stuff. 17-0, man. That's a stretch. That's a stretch. You guys haven't been playing that well. You guys haven't been playing that well. I give flowers when it's necessary, but Philly ain't playing that well. 17-0. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. But yeah, y'all have a good evening. Like I said, kickoff is about 8:15 for the Thursday night game. We'll be kind of tuned into that. Let's see how some football to watch. We'll be back tomorrow doing the Freestyle Friday. Dr. Nikki kind of gave me a part of that show, and I want to kind of break down. I don't know if you guys are aware about the black gymnast. I want to say it was in Ireland, who got passed over during the medal ceremony. Simone Biles kind of drew attention to that. I want to kind of discuss that on tomorrow's show, and we'll be doing that. And in the other space, I'll be doing my regular stuff over there. And I'm working on some other stuff with some other people, man, trying to bring flavor to different spaces, and we working. And like I said, be back tomorrow, and hope y'all have a good weekend. Be safe, man. We're gonna make it a Friday. Hope you guys come in tomorrow, join in on the conversation, and we're gonna have a good show, have a good discussion. I mean, you off with the phrase that pays over here, because I got to remember where I'm at. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.